Hi and welcome to the Music Box Chatters podcast with me, Tioni, hosting the show. So this month we'll be diving into the topic of narcissistic personality disorder. So if you're new here, well hi, myself and the girls are running our own company called Toybox, which is all about educating and breaking the stigmas on mental health and well-being. And as psychologists ourselves, we're quite passionate about these topics. So we obviously came up with the idea of creating our own podcast on the side, and each month we'll be talking about a new mental health topic. So definitely go check out our page on Instagram at toybox_mh to stay up to date. So I feel like narcissistic personality disorder is not talked about as much, but we have to definitely change that and encourage more people to talk about it. So people with the condition have an inflated idea of themselves and require a lot of attention from others. So it's different from being self-absorbed, since NPD is a mental illness. I'll probably be using NPD throughout, which actually stands for narcissistic personality disorder. So some symptoms that could appear could be things such as having a sense of entitlement, having a sense of interpersonal operative behavior, having lack of empathy for others, and displaying egoistic attitudes. So according to research, NPD is more prevalent in males than females, and it often begins in teens or early adulthood. And it is kind of theorized that NPD may be linked to environmental factors such as parent-child relationships. And there's also a biological factor to it, such as genetics and neurobiological factors. And according to research, there's also a very strong link with NPD and poor interpersonal relationships. This maybe leads to things such as toxic relationships where their partner experiences emotional and verbal abuse, and oftentimes due to the lack of empathy and a sense of superiority, people with NPD may resort to gaslighting and manipulating the people around them. However, it's important to remember that NPD can indeed capable of forming close relationships, but this takes a lot of effort to maintain a healthy one basically. And NPD can be overcome, but I think it all starts with the individual themselves being aware of the disorder they have. And there are treatment programs that can help them manage and to learn and understand the behavior and emotions that they are experiencing. And speaking about treatments earlier, the two main treatments I would say are psychotherapy and medication. Psychotherapy involves treatment centered around talk therapy, which can help you learn to relate better with others, which helps relationships become more intimate and enjoyable and rewarding. And psychotherapy can also help you accept responsibility and learn different aspects such as accept and maintain real personal relationships and collaboration with others, as well as recognize and accept your actual competence and potential to help tolerate criticism or failures. On the other hand, there is no medication that is specific to NPD. However, medication for other mental disorders may correlate to NPD, can be seen as helpful. So this could be things such as antidepressant or anti-anxiety drugs, but it's also important to consider things such as avoiding alcohol and drug substances, which can trigger the negative behaviors. And also it's important to exercise to boost your moods, and doing such as engaging in activities such as yoga and meditation can help reduce stress and anxiety. So Arjun, one of the co-founders of Toybox, found a really interesting article, and the research talks about psychologist Erica Carlson and a team at the University of Washington who looked into the question of whether narcissists know they are narcissistic. So narcissism exists on the spectrum, so we all have some sort of narcissistic tendencies. So Carlson measured the narcissism of a group of people using questionnaires to find people on the high end of the scale. And Carlson's research does raise a few other questions, such as how can narcissists hold such a high opinion of themselves when they know that other people hold some negative views about them? And the other question was, do narcissists care they are narcissistic? Is this something they could change if they could? And, one possibility is that they simply don't see these as negative traits. For them, it's more of a strong possibility that narcissists see narcissistic personality traits as a good thing. This could be because narcissists prefer agentic traits like dominance, productive, assertive, than they do with communal traits. So these are things such as being honest or nice to people. And this is actually really present in several tech leaders such as Steve Jobs to Elizabeth Holmes. And from my research during my master's course into organizational psychology, which is also known as industrial psychology or business psychology, we delved deep into hubris leadership roles, and it is clear that transformational leadership have certain characteristics such as concerned about ethics, long-term goals and visions, which drive staff to increase productivity levels. However, there is a dark side to this triad, as leaders can become hubris and narcissistic due to the abuse of power they have, which tends to lead followers to take part in cases such as the Heaven's Gate cult. And this happened with Elizabeth Holmes, which actually led employees to lose their freedom from the constant surveillance and the difficulties of being able to separate from their work and home life. And as a future practitioner, this has encouraged me to really understand the importance of working with a hubris leader and to encourage dissent in decision-making processes when it comes to situations like this. So I'm now going to read out some public opinions on NPD. So someone on Reddit said that narcissistic leaders don't learn from their mistakes because they think that they don't make any. Well, according to research, when most people find that their actions have, resulted in some sort of undesirable outcome, they tend to, rethink their decision and ask themselves, what should I have done differently to avoid this negative outcome? But interestingly, when it comes to NPD individuals, when they face the same situation, they sort of refuse to acknowledge that they've made a mistake. And, going back on leadership roles, individuals who set aside time for, reflection and review after a decision making, even if it was positive, so, whether the decision was favorable or unfavorable, they should ask themselves what they should have done differently. And because NPD individuals don't engage in this sort of process, it would be, sort of wise to have advisory panels that provide checks and balances when NPD individuals have decision-making authority. So this sort of provides a better environment for everyone, for the individual themselves and for those around them as well. So another interesting statement that I found on Twitter this time was that narcissists might be irritating attention seekers. So with this one, I think that even though the personality trait might seem negative, according to psychologists, their sense of having power gives them a mental toughness to not give up in life. So it encourages them to succeed and to find motivation to carry on. So I don't really think they are attention seekers, but they sort of need this to thrive. So we've arrived to the most exciting part of the podcast. So we actually made a playlist based on tunes around mental health, and each month we're adding a new songs. So this month, obviously, it's based on NPD. So there will be songs such as Black Space by Taylor Swift, to Rihanna, Love the Way You Lie, to Nicki Minaj's tunes, Bed of Lies. So let's talk about Rihanna's tune, Love the Way You Lie, featuring Eminem. So from just watching the music video and listening to the lyrics, you can sort of tell that both artists were talking about how NPD individuals view abusive relationships as being okay and normal in a sense, and they've sort of described it as such a romanticized, dysfunctional, abusive relationship as being unconditional love, which seems really wrong in the outside world, but for those who are NPD, for them that is something completely normal. And interestingly, the tune Bed of Lies by Nicki Minaj sort of narrates a point of view of being with a narcissistic individual rather than being in a narcissist's shoes, if that makes sense. So it's really clear that the song pictures an image that living with a narcissistic partner can sort of lead to a condition known as narcissistic abusive syndrome, in which a person's self-confidence and their mental health can sort of deteriorate, and it can really impact them. So it's always also important to consider the people around them and how they are massively affected, as well as the individual themselves. So it's really important that we sort of bring this to awareness, you know. I really do think that both of these songs have really pictured a great image of how narcissistic people face the world and how those around them are affected. So yeah, definitely go listen to these songs. They are quite old tunes. I remember just jamming to them years ago. But yeah, we've got plenty of more tunes, so definitely go check them out in our playlist on Spotify and on YouTube. And yeah, that is it for me. So feel free to reach out to us if you are struggling, of course, or know anyone who is, and we'll be very happy to signpost you to suitable help. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in with me, and I'll definitely be back next month with a new topic. And in the meantime, go follow us at toybox_mh for the latest.